together, we'll close our eyes and take 6 slow, deep, relaxing breaths. And we picture ourselves on top of a beautiful mountain in the center of a circular grove of trees. And in the center of the circle, a beautiful bonfire blazes forth, lighting us and the grove up with a sacred golden light. We allow this light to expand and to grow, reaching throughout our consciousness. And everything that is unlike perfect love and perfect trust melts away in this light. And into the sacred space we invite the presence of our Divine Father and Mother, and we ask that they join with us here in this space. We also ask that the presence of all of our ancestors, all the teachers of the way, the angels, every master that has ever lived, is here now, or is yet to be present within this space. We dedicate this time that we spend together to them, that we will grow in wisdom and prosperity. And together we say, blessed be. First of all, in the craft, the way we know it, because we happen to be in the same tradition, or at least the way our tradition sees it, is that we're on a road together here on earth, and each one of us is trying to perfect ourselves, because that is the will of God. And you can call it whatever you want. You can call it the Great Spirit, you can call it the Goddess, you can call it whatever. But there is a force of consciousness that is a seed within us that is perfect. And its mission here is to remind us at all times to come back to who we are, to come back to our perfection. And the problem that we have in this world is that the world as we know it trains us to come from a point of view of scarcity and poverty at all costs. Because when you think to yourself, oh, I've got to go be, okay, even in the spiritual path, oh, it's the way to perfection, I'm supposed to go perfect myself, I must be imperfect. I want to go get money, because I'm broke. I need to get a relationship because I'm lonely. We're always coming from a sense of lack. We're always coming from a sense of scarcity to go out into the world to get something more to paste over us that will somehow fill a void within us. Whereas the craft teaches, at least the way the tradition and the way I understand it, in many religious teachings, any true spiritual path, says no. You already are perfect. You already have it all. You have an abundance of everything that you need at all times. What you don't need is to go get more things. What you need to do is let go of the things that are blocking the expression of your abundance here on earth. That's true for relationships, that's true for health, that's true for money, that's true for everything. We're talking about money tonight, or we're talking about prosperity, real prosperity. And prosperity has, all these different phases. You can be prosperous in health. If you look at your life, are you as healthy as you could be? Is your body working well? Are you able to do the things with your body that you'd like to be able to do? Do you have a good respiratory system? Are you able to breathe deep in every situation? Do you have a good digestion? Do you have good elimination? Do you have, a sense of well-being in your body? Do you have prosperity in relationships? Are your relationships dynamic temples of light where you can give and exchange wonderful energy and you boundlessly thrive off of the energy within? Are your relationships, something to cover up loneliness, or a place where you fight, or whatever? Do you have joy? Do you have a prosperity and joy in your life? Is every experience in your life do you view it as an opportunity for more fulfillment and more joy and more love and more healing and more blessing? Or is your life something that you kind of drudge through? Kind of avoiding pain here and avoiding pain here, and I got to go to work and I don't really like it and whatever. So the prosperity can be in, do you have a lot of time? Are you always pressed for time? Do you have to go to great lengths just to schedule in a day for yourself where you can just relax and enjoy the life and all the work that you do? Or, do you have an abundance of it where you're able to know and feel safe that everything will get done in its own way, in its own time, and that you don't have to do a whole lot of struggling with it? So prosperity, we can go on and on and on. Prosperity is not just money. Prosperity is time and relationships and people and home. Do you love your home? Do you feel, well, some of us will love our home once we move, but, what I'm saying is, do you love your home? Is it a place where you just go and you say, wow, I just love being here. This is my environment. This is exactly what I want in a home. Of course I want more things. I'm constantly wanting to make my home more and more beautiful, but I love it there, or is it something that you just have to sit in because that's what you can afford or whatever? Do you love your car? Is your car to give you a sense of prosperity, or is it always breaking down on you? Is it always a constant source of pain and misery? So, and then there's money. Then there is money. And money is what most people think of when we think of prosperity. But what is money there for? It's there so that you can have all these other things. It's there so that you can have the home that you want, that you can, so you have the car that you want, that you can have the clothes that you want, that you can have whatever it is that is going to serve you in your work here on earth. In the 80s, there was a whole different concept that was real prevalent in politics than there is now. And that was, and again, I don't have a problem with any politic, because I think all politics have their strengths and weaknesses. But there was something real prevalent in the 80s, whereas, okay, well, there's these rich people over here, and they're going to be kind and generous, and they're going to give to the world, and it's going to all kind of trickle down, and everything's going to be great. But they didn't do that, because what did they do? The majority of the people with the money held on to it, and they hoarded it, and they kept it, and they didn't circulate it, and it grew into a radical recession that we had. It was horrible. It was a horrible experience of poverty on this planet, especially in this country. I mean, there was so much poverty for most people, because there was this idea that there's a certain amount of wealth over here, and that because of philanthropy, it was going to trickle down. This is a very old concept, and it's one that we all, I think, inherit on some level, is that there's this idea that there's this finite amount of money in the world, and that there's only so much to go around, and if some people have more, then other people have to have less. But money is what? What is it? It's an idea. I mean, it's just something that somebody thought of. It's a piece of paper, it's some coins, it's some figures in a notebook that says, I mean, if you look at a bill, it says, this is legal tender for all debts, private and public. That's all it is. It's just this agreement that because you gave me this good and service, I'm going to give you this so that you can exchange it for some goods and services. It has no use, it has no meaning in a stockpile somewhere. I mean, and that's not to say that you shouldn't save and all that stuff, but I'm saying from the mentality of hoarding, this idea that there's this finite amount of these pieces of paper, they print more. They print more. And then you know what they say? Oh no, we're printing too much money, now there's going to be a recession. Why? Why is that? Why would that be? Because we've got a mentality, it's a thought that there's only so much money to go around. True. Originally money was supposed to be, there's so much gold that this represents. Okay? But what's gold? It's just metal. Why does it have value? Because people said so. If we said that bones had value, there would all of a sudden be people hoarding bones, and being afraid to have a poverty of bones or whatever. You can use whatever you want, but a society agrees on a particular tender, a particular system of exchange, and this is just permission to use this exchange to give value to goods and services. So in money, what we have to get away from is this idea that when we make money, that we're taking money away from other people. When you make money, what you're doing is you are creating more money for other people. You are creating opportunity for more people to have what your money can buy them. If I make more money, that means I'm going to spend more money. I'm going to invest more money. Which means that there's more resources for other people to spend and invest. And if you start making enough money, you're going to need so much help that you'll have to hire people to pay. And they'll make more money. And that's a good thing. This is what capitalism is all about. Capitalism is not an evil system. Capitalism is not good or evil. It is fertile ground for human greed because it lets us do whatever we want to do. But capitalism in and of itself is just freedom to prosper as much as we want to prosper, financially speaking. There's the problem that we have when we're on a spiritual path, however, is that there is no longer a grace period that there used to be for us, because what we asked the universe to show us a spiritual path, we've asked the universe to perfect us. You get on this path of enlightenment, whatever it is, and you say, you take an initiation or you make a declaration or you do whatever you want to do, and you say, universe, please teach me spiritual enlightenment. And then the universe says, okay. And then you get supported in doing that. So what most of us experience then is we don't have this grace period between cause and effect that we used to have. Things speed up a lot more quickly for most of us that are on spiritual paths. When you are dealing with a lack of integrity in your life, it shows up more quickly for you. There's this phenomenon has many explanations, but basically you've asked for it. You've asked to be shown the way. You've asked to be shown how truth works. And so truth works for you more quickly. Probably because we're looking for it more. It's probably because we're looking for it more. But when you are on a spiritual path and you want to prosper financially, you have less leeway as to how you can do that. When you're not on a spiritual path and you want to prosper financially, you can do it by exploiting people. You can do it by enslaving people. You can do it by oppressing people in third world nations. You can do it by polluting the environment. You can do it by all kinds of awful, horrible, greedy ways. But when you're on a spiritual path, it usually happens that those roads are closed to you because you have asked for them to be closed to you. So what we have to do is get over this old paradigm that spiritual people are poor and rich people are unconscious. That's an old paradigm that needs to be broken. What spiritual people need to do is learn that we can prosper and we can do it consciously. It's not up to us to enlighten other people. What we need to do is say, what is money? Money is a system of exchange. Money is wealth. Money is something that can buy things. Money is something that can be exchanged for goods and services. Now, what we have to understand from a metaphysical point of view is that in the realm of consciousness, all things are thought. Everything is caused by thought. Our thoughts always produce manifestation on some level or another. Now, most of us I think it was estimated, I don't know how they can measure this, but somebody said that we think about 60,000 thoughts a day. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but just say it is. We think about 60,000 thoughts a day. How many of them are habitual beliefs that just keep running? How many of them are based on the past? How many of them are stuff that we just swallowed like a pill as a kid, and we never bothered to question? So, if thoughts do indeed produce results, because the world is not causative, the world is dead matter, but if the world is caused by thoughts and collections of thoughts, then in our personal life, if we think 60,000 thoughts a day, how many of them are really under our conscious control, and how many of them are just habitual beliefs? The only way to know how you're thinking about something is by looking to the effect. It's impossible to monitor that many thoughts in our consciousness. I mean, I'm not sure that it's impossible, but it's really hard. I mean, I meditate, and boy, my mind is a pain in the ass. I mean, it just goes all over the place, and it's just hard for me to even focus for maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And even within that, there's a lot of flipping around that goes on. But my whole life, I can't monitor my thoughts as well as I would like to be able to. That's why we have the physical world. That's what it's here for. That's its purpose. That's its function. It's to show us our consciousness in three-dimensional reality. It's to give us an experience of that which is invisible. So how do we think about money? Look in your checkbook, Look in your ability to manifest wealth on a conscious level. Now, some people can, like we said, manifest great amounts of wealth at the expense of others, but that's also a reflection of their consciousness. Okay? So when we want to, as conscious people, do the work that we need to do in order to be metaphysically correct, if you will, and get the financial results that we need to live in this world, we have to do some radical changing of our consciousness. And the only way that I know how to do that, I mean, you can do it, there's a lot of different techniques, and people do affirmations, people do spells, people do chanting. I mean, there's a million different things that you can do. But for me, all of that stuff is fine, and it's wonderful adjunct to my spiritual practice. But the only thing that works for me, and for most people that do it, say that it's true as well, is asking the Spirit to show me. To get out of what do I want. To get out of how can I get this money? How can I get this car? How can I get these things all over the place? Have you ever been in been out dating, and there's this person that you're like really into, and you've met them or whatever, and you really want them, and that's what you really desire, and oh my God, and then when you get around them, you make a total idiot out of yourself. I mean, and they really pick up on the fact that you're really into them, and it's not an attractive thing. And you just basically push them away from you. Well, that's what we do with our prosperity. I really want this. I really want this. I really want this. And the thing is going, it's like putting silly putty in front of a magnet, Whereas the way that I understand metaphysical law, if you've got a desire in your heart for something, it was put there by God. It was put there by Spirit. It was put there by the force of creation that created you. It's there to be realized. The energy pattern is no different in that desire than the energy pattern of a magnet. It knows what it's doing. It knows what it's doing. When a woman gets pregnant with a child, we don't go in there and say, "Oh, how's the spleen doing? How's the heart doing? Is it coming along?" It's way under the surface, out of our reach, so that it can do what it's supposed to do on its own, so that we don't mess with it. But the same thing is true for us in our so-called magic. It's so funny in the craft, people are always doing these spells. I have never seen a money spell really work. I haven't. I've seen it give some quick results in time, but I have never seen most money spells that are done do not produce a long-lasting sense of prosperity. What we want is an abundance machine that just works on its own without us having to worry about it. And that abundance machine is built into us. It's the way what life works. If you have a desire in your heart for something, it's seeking you. Our job is to get out of the way. So what I do is I say, okay, Goddess, what do you want me to do today? What is your will for me? But see, we have a problem with that in the craft, because that smacks so much of our old Judeo-Christian upbringing. That this idea that there's this external God out here who's got a will and it's fated and you can't get out of it, and that his desire is to punish you if you stray from a particular path. You're going to be, if you're a sinner, you're going to be punished. And the only way out of it is to be saved by Jesus. So whenever we hear even the concept of, I want to relinquish my personal desire over to a higher power in order to be used for service, that doesn't jive well with us, and it's understandable. But we're not talking about an abdication of responsibility. We're not talking about giving your power over to an external deity. We are talking about turning off the mind that we think we are. There is two, in in most metaphysics, there are separate levels of consciousness within us. There is a universal connection to oneness that we have, that is the goddess, that is the Holy Spirit, that is the Great Spirit, this God, whatever you want to call it, Christ. It's the grand unifying principle that the new physics is discussing these days. It's the thing that is connected to our divinity. And then there's our personality. There's a false pseudo-self that we have learned how to manufacture through our lifetime here. It's there. We've learned how to protect ourselves from each other. We've learned how to put up walls against each other. We've learned how to put up walls against everything that is good for us. We've learned how to think what they call think negatively about ourselves and others. We've learned how to criticize. We've learned how to hate. We've learned how to fight. We've learned how to do all kinds of things which are not natural, which are really unnatural parts of ourselves, that are counter to our nature. They are false senses of ourself that this society, and it's a long-standing racial consciousness, but the society that we've been born into over time has evolved into. And this false sense is called the ego in the Eastern religions. Eli calls it false beliefs or hidden beliefs. But these beliefs are those 60,000 thoughts that we're thinking at all the times. These are what some of the pop psychology will call the tapes that we run constantly over and over again. These belief systems are like viruses. They are like parasites that have their own life force almost. They have their own survival instinct. So the only way out, like in AA, they say that you can't get out of the thought system that caused this reality for yourself within the thought system. You cannot exit, Marianne Williamson says, you cannot exit the conflict from the state of consciousness which is the conflict. So you cannot exit anything in this world, any sense of lack or scarcity, poverty, fear, any of those unholy experiences from the level of consciousness which is those experiences. What we have to do is we have to ask for a higher power to come in and show us the way. Now this higher power, the funny thing is, that's the real us. That's who we are. That other stuff is the fake. But we've conned ourselves into believing that we're just specks of dust, we're poor little people, we have to struggle and it's hard and nobody loves us or whatever it is. Whatever, everybody's got their own story. You know, in S they call it your case. Everybody's got their own case, you know. And everybody's is really unique and everybody's real clever about it, you know, and it so doesn't matter what it is. What the truth of the matter is that there is a force of consciousness that is the truth about us, which seems to be separate from us because we identify with this false sense of self. That's the problem. So what I do is I get up in the morning and I say, Goddess, where do you want me to be? What do you want me to do? You know, where, what is it that is your will for me? And it's always love. Okay? It's always about love. That's the only thing. Do you know what wealth, you know the root word, the word wealth, the root comes from the same word as good. Prosperity, prosper. The same thing, that root word also means good. You know, in metaphysics, what you have to do to get something more is to give that which you want to receive. That's just basic metaphysics. I don't care if Jesus taught it, if you got it out of the Ten Commandments, I don't care if you got it from Krishna, wherever you get it, what you put out comes back to you multiplied. Why? Because it never left you in the first place. Where would it go? Where would a thought go? It's all you. You know, this is you. Nobody can experience your life except for you. And if you're putting energy out, then that's what your energy is that you're going to be experiencing. And as it goes around and around long enough and it gets into where Freud would call your super ego, it gains in strength and it appears to magnify. And that's why we say what you do, what you put out comes back to you tenfold or ninefold or threefold or 12-fold or whatever the ratio happens to be that you're using. It comes back to you multiplied. But that's a phenomenon. So if what you are wanting is more wealth, then you have to give out more good. Now the only thing that we have to give that is real, because again, what is money? It's nothing real. It's just a symbol. It's just a thought. The only thing we have to give is from our hearts. You can, in any situation, give out unlimited good. You can be in a coffee shop and give a smile where it's needed. You can be at work and give comfort where it's needed. You can be in any situation at any time and be unlimited, give unlimited prosperity, and that's what you will get back. Now, the thing is there's a force of consciousness that is nature. We call it the goddess. And she is this force of consciousness. She's this intelligence that can make the planets spin, and she can make the leaves grow out of the trees, and she can create all of the mysteries of the photosynthesis process. She can do all of this stuff that the scientists are just starting to observe. There's so much that goes on in cell mitosis and quantum physics and all this stuff that is the nuts and bolts of reality as we know it. That is a miracle beyond scientific comprehension. And this intelligence is the goddess. You can call it whatever you want. This same intelligence, believe it or not, created you. And this same intelligence gets what money is. It's, we think that the goddess is a ditz. We do. We really do. We think that the goddess is just like totally, like half a brain, that she can't figure out what our needs are. So we're gonna go and fix it. We're going to go out there and we're going to fix it ourselves. I need to go out and make money, and I need to pay my bills, and I need to pay my rent. The goddess knows what your rent is. She does. She knows what your bills are. But she cannot come in and intervene because what is the biggest commodity that we find precious in this world, especially in the craft, is free will. Everybody's always on it about this. My free will. I have the free will to choose my own religion. I have the free will to blah, 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 blah. And I never do magic that interferes with the free will of another. That is a mantra, not only in the craft, but in America. And it's a good commodity, our free will. Well, but then, what happens is I start talking about the goddess, that she's got, your perfection in mind. She knows how to make it happen. And people say, well, then how come I'm broke? Or how come I got sick? Or how come I got in an accident? Or how come I got mugged? Or blah, blah, blah. Those kinds of things. Well, because we have the free will to think thoughts that are unlike hers. We do. And thoughts create results. And we have the free will to manifest whatever we want. And she is so patient. She gives us lifetime after lifetime after lifetime to get it right. And if we destroy this body, we'll get another one. If we destroy this planet, we'll find another one. You know what I mean? That's the force of nature. Just look in any part of nature, and that's what she's all about. I'm going to start again. You're going to put concrete down here. Well, there's going to be some flowers coming up through it. No matter where we go, what we do, the goddess does not stop giving us a new opportunity. So the same is true for us. And when we don't get it, we don't get that the results in the physical world are the manifestation of our consciousness. She just gives us a new opportunity, and a new one, and a new one. And eventually we will get it because it's her will. That's the will of nature. It's the will of creation that we all get it. Eli says that's God's will for us, is to be perfect. We can't stop our perfection, but we can delay it. That's all we can do. So, the shortcut to all of this is just say, I get it. There is a force of nature that's working through me at all times that knows how to give me everything that I truly desire. I have no idea what will make me happy. I just think I do, because everything that I think will make me happy, and every way that I go about trying to get it, I always fuck it up, and it always comes back and hurts me. So why don't I just go directly to her and say, work through me? And then, you know what? You've given your free will. Goddess, your will be done through me. Well, you know what? Until we get through personal experience that her will for us is joy, and her will for us is happiness, and her will for us is prosperity. Until we get that through personal experience, you're either going to have to believe it, or you're going to have to learn it through cause and effect. You're going to have to take it on faith, or you're going to have to try it out for yourself. I always say, why don't you just try it? Why don't you just try it for a month? See how different you feel. In any situation, I'm just going to give the situation over to the goddess as much as I can and say, where do you want me to go with this? Let your will be done and not mine. And see what happens. People think when I say that means that they're supposed to just kind of sit around and do nothing. You know, if you've ever seen me, I do not sit around. I do not sit around. When I started thinking this way, that's when my life took off. That's when I was inspired to do things. That's when I was inspired to do all of the different things that I'm doing now that make me happy. And again, I don't think that I've got this stuff down by any stretch of the imagination, but I do know that when I do have it down, things work instantly and always. It's very scientific. So, if we come from the point of view that the goddess's will for us, and you can call it whatever you want, that the goddess's will for us is happiness and prosperity, and that our heart's desire, what we want out of life, is put there by her, because, you know, in that charge of the goddess, you'll find me when you reach the end of desire. If we get that it's her desire working through us is what we're feeling, then when we let go of all of our games and all of our resistance to accepting her will for us, and we just say yes, I'll do it, then the magnet starts working. And you know, it's the darndest thing that as soon as we stop trying to get the money, and we stop trying to get the car, and we stop trying to get the house, and we stop trying to do all this stuff, then all we do in any situation is give love here and give love here, and ask the goddess, what do you want me to do here? What do you want me to do there? Where, you know, use her compassion through us, let ourselves be used as a vessel. The darndest thing is that those very things that we've been trying so hard to manifest just come by themselves, on their own, without a lot of effort. I was without a car for 7 years, and I was doing car spells, and I was visualizing, and I was doing all this stuff, and finally I just said, forget it. You know, you want me to, maybe I'm supposed to be like this beacon of shining light in the world that shows people how not to use the combustion engine. Who knows? It's obviously not working. You know, I'm gonna focus my life on other stuff. You know, the car found me. Somebody called me when what was it? No, somebody came this isn't this car. Somebody came into the shop and said, oh, you know, I'm moving. I need to get rid of this car. You know, you got $200? And I'm like, yeah, you know, here. So that's what I'm saying. Those sorts of things start to happen. That when we realize that the goddess knows what we need, then what we have to do is say, so, okay, I get it. I have to do my job. That's all I have to do. The goddess will pay the payroll if I do my job. And then what happens is we start looking into our life and finding out, well, what do I love to do? You know that old book, Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow? It's an old spiritual principle. It's very valid. Do what you love and the money will follow. Well, people misunderstood that, and they thought, and I saw this really prevalent in the 80s, especially with people that do this kind of stuff, that do spiritual work and things like that. They say, oh, okay, well, do what I love and the money will follow. That means that doing what I love will instantly make me money. That's not the way it works. Because what happens is, do what you love for the love of it. Don't do it for money, because if you do it for money, then you're missing the whole point. We don't do anything for money. We do what we do because it's our gift. It's what we have to offer. I love to do a lot of different things, and when I do them, people benefit from them. I don't do it because they're going to pay me. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But doing what I love to do and working in the world and living in the world means, you know, for some of us that means that we do what we love and we have a job. There's nothing dishonorable about that. There's nothing wrong with doing our work in the world, and if it's not bringing in money yet, or maybe never, that we are going to do whatever it takes in order to take care of our bills so that our work can be done. I remember once I had a job where this lady was talking about this guy, her brother. I was telling, you know, I'm a musician, and she said, oh, my brother, or I'm a composer, and she said, oh, my brother's a composer, and he gave it up. And I said, why? Why did he give up composing? And, well, because he wasn't able to make any money at it. And I said, you know, in my mind, I think I probably said it to her face, which was not probably the kindest thing, but I said, you know, in my opinion, he doesn't deserve to be a musician. He doesn't deserve to be an artist. If that's his idea, that I'm not going to give my gift unless I can get money out of it, then it's blasphemy. That's blaspheming the art form, you know? And the sad thing about it is that, like with this, can you imagine if this was my job? My whole thing would be, oh my God, there's not enough people here. How am I going to pay the rent? I don't care. I don't need that. I'm not here for the money. Like somebody, I had like so many people call up today. They had the flu. There was like this flu going on or something. And one person said, I'm so sorry, I'm not going to make it. I'm so sorry. I said, I don't have this preconceived notion, A, that my lecture is the most spiritual place for you to be, or B, that I need you there in order for it to work. Whoever's supposed to be there will be there. And I know that I've committed, the goddess told me, basically, and this is the thing, is when you get into meditation and you really get into it and you do it on a regular basis and you relax your mind and you relax your body and you say, what would you have me do? What do you want? You'll get some really interesting things. You'll get these drives to go do things that might, sometimes it's just, oh yeah, well of course. And a lot of times it's like, are you sure that's what you want me to do? Because when she said, I think you should give, lectures again at Visions and Dreams, I thought she was kidding. But then you know what happened? This was like 2 years ago that I got this. I think you should go give lectures at Visions and Dreams. And it wasn't those words. I don't think it was that voice. But I remember getting this inspiration of like being up here again. For one thing, back then they didn't have this as a classroom. And for another thing, I didn't like the owner very much at that time. We were unhealed. I had some stuff on her. It wasn't her fault. It was all my problem, really. There's two that tango, but you know what I mean? It was my unresolved conflict that I said, I'll never teach at that place again. And the funniest thing was I had a ballet in Laguna that was being performed. And there were three performances that day, and we had to run over to Cafe Zinc to get something to eat between performances. And I ran over, and who's there but the owner? Sitting there. And I didn't see her. She calls from across the place, Kai! I'm like, oh my God. Look who it is. She came over and we had this wonderful healing. Wonderful healing. And so I'm like, okay, this is the second time Visions and Dreams has come into reality here. And then the next thing, I get this call and she says, we've opened our classroom up again. So I'm like, okay, well maybe I should think about this. So I thought about it again. I meditated on it again. Do you want me to do it? Do you want me to do it? Yes, I kept getting this hit. Yes. So that didn't necessarily mean to me that, I'm going to put out my flyers and I'm going to have, 50 people in my class. That meant that I'm supposed to commit to doing once a month being here for who's ever here. And that's it. And that's all that's here. If one person goes away with something that's usable to them, that's great. That's all that matters. If one person comes to hear me and says, I don't buy any of it, that's fine too. But at least they're clearer on that. You know what I'm saying? So my gift has nothing to do with getting money from people. Any of my gifts, all of my gifts, it has nothing to do with money. But when we get clear that there's an abundance machine within us that has infinite supply. I can go out dispensing good. I can go out dispensing wealth, prosperity, infinitely. And I get it all back. And it's so funny because once I finally started getting this several years ago, little by little, the money just keeps coming in and keeps coming in and keeps coming in, and new opportunities for me to do the things that I love to do, that I just love to do. And I see it with other people too. I remember I used to go watch Marianne Williamson when, way back when she had a few more people than this when she would lecture, but you know what I'm saying? I don't know when she started, but when we used to go, it was kind of, a little community event, and it was fun. And she just loved it. And she was a temporary secretary or whatever, and she just loved doing it. And now, she's, New York Times bestseller and, has constant wealth and prosperity. But she never sought it. She never went out and sought it. And I see the same thing with Sue Andra here at Visions and Dreams. When they first started this store, it was a little 5 and dime. It was nothing. And she was just little by little. She just kept doing what she loved to do. And the money kept coming around. And she had to work another job. She just did this for the joy of it. It wasn't supposed to be this multi-million-dollar operation that's, in several states now. That was never her plan, but that was the goddess's plan for her. But had she been in there going, how can I make a multi-million-dollar thing happen? And she's on a spiritual path, it would have been sabotage every single time. Now that's another thing that's very important for us to remember is that if we have within us an unhealed consciousness and we go out and we get things that are good for us, be they relationships, be they money, whatever, health, things like that. If we have an unhealed consciousness that's created a sense of lack or a sense of despair or a sense of disease in our lives, and we go out and try to do things in the world to make it better, i.e. get the cancer removed under the knife, take the drugs for the HIV, do all of these things, which in and of themselves are not bad or good. But when we do those things to fix it, go out and make money, go out and get a job, whatever, to fix the things in the world without healing our consciousness, the same consciousness will be operating in this new reality. And then that's when the cancer returns, that's when you lose the job, that's when you do whatever, or that's when you get all your credit cards paid off and then you max them out again, those sorts of things. Because what happens with us is that if we have a belief system that doesn't support the new idea, it's just like when you've been eating junk food for years and you go on a fast or you start eating a healthy diet and you just give up caffeine and you give up fat and you give up white sugar and you eat only pure foods, your system doesn't know how to handle that. It starts to detox. It starts to get rid of that, even though it's good for you. It starts to get rid of that foreign matter because it's foreign to your system. Or like when you have a diseased kidney and they transplant it and the new kidney, even though that kidney is good for you because it's a good kidney, it's foreign to your system. So your body goes into trying to reject it. Well, we do the same thing psychically. Whenever we go out in the world and we get something good for us that is foreign to our system, we will automatically go out to sabotage, to reject it. So it's not enough to do the footwork in the material world to get the things that we want to get. What we need to do is do the consciousness to work in the realms of consciousness to allow ourselves to demonstrate prosperity. It's not getting. It's not about getting. When we do lamas, we do this Wicker Man ceremony, and it's like from my heart to the heart of God, I am giving a sense of gratitude for everything. I'm giving. I'm not getting. But with this open hand, this palm is up that you're giving, you're open to receiving it. And it's like you don't get tenfold back, you get infinite back with that. I know for me, when I do my work in this world in any day, and it's not like what's my work and you have this like plan. It's in any moment, what's my work? Who's in front of me? Okay, at work, somebody's in pain at work. I have a choice. I can either extend love to them or I can ignore them. Somebody's, being bitchy in the office. I can either forgive them or I can resent them and gossip about them behind their back. I have a choice in any situation, whether I'm going to be wealthy or whether I'm going to have poverty. When I am wealthy, the gift is so infinite because it doesn't matter how much money I get back. The gratitude within the eyes of that other human, on the other end of that gift that I just gave, is more wealth than you can possibly imagine. Anytime you do something for the love of it, for the good of the planet, for the good of somebody, not because you're playing the part of philanthropist or not because you're playing the part of a do-gooder, but because within you that voice for the goddess says, give this person love. Extend yourself to this person, connect to this person. The gratitude in their eyes, whether they say anything or not to you, when you give that gift, is infinite prosperity. So that's what we have to start thinking about. Because, here we are, year 2000, coming right around the corner. We've got this whole new millennium opening up. People are freaking out, People are afraid. People are scared. There's guns. There's violence in our streets. There's all kinds of horrible things. That's poverty. We have unlimited capacity as individuals to choose in any situation to heal. that situation. Purely, not by doing it ourselves, not by saying, I'm gonna come in here and do a whammy on you. It's more that I am going to be a vessel through which healing can occur. It's a willingness to just open up and say, yes, Goddess, through me, or yes, Father, or whatever, through me, that deep within me, your seed that is perfection will flower forth and bring forth love into this situation or that situation or this situation. And you know what? He always pays his bills. God always pays you back. And sometimes that's not money, and it's always enough money. You always have enough money. The thing is, it's pretty soon when you're out of the way and you're not worried about the money, the abundance just starts coming in. Like I was saying, I'm starting to make all this money and I didn't even know I wasn't even trying anymore. And what I had to learn was that, you know what? I don't need that much money to live on. I don't need more things. So what do I do with this abundance? What do I do with this surplus? That's the trick. It's not your money. It's her money. She trusts you enough to have this money to use on her behalf. So what are you going to do with it? Are you going to tithe with it? Are you going to give to? What are you going to do? I mean, you're supposed to benefit the world with your money. Because with money, in this society, with money, things can get done really quickly. With money behind it, in this society, things can be done really quickly. I know in working in the nonprofit world how much we need money just to go forward. And I support a lot of other nonprofit organizations and the money really helps. So the more money I have to contribute and to benefit the world, the easier this work can get done. And that's why she pours it through me. Not because I'm so special, but because I finally said, yes, I'll do with it as you told me, to benefit the world. And you know who's supposed to benefit from that money? Also, one of the people who's supposed to benefit from that money? You. Nothing to be ashamed of. And there's nothing wrong with having beautiful things. You should see my house. I have gorgeous things. Beautiful things. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not taking money away from anybody when I have those things. So we can all benefit. And the more that we're willing to use on her behalf, the more that will be given to us. What we want to receive is money and prosperity. But it's more than just money. It is true, real prosperity. And that comes from the heart. And that is infinite supply that we can give. Okay? So in conclusion, let's just do a little meditation. Let's see if we can, through the power of the spoken word of prayer and also through the power of our imagination, if we can just invite this force of consciousness to come through and heal those wounds within us that are blocking the flow of prosperity. As we breathe and relax our bodies and minds, we once again visualize in our minds that gorgeous grove of trees on the beautiful mountain, the golden light, the fire burning forth. And we call on the presence of our mother, and we call upon the presence of our father, and we realize that they are connected eternally as one. We ask that this force of consciousness enter into our minds and our hearts right now. And any fears that we have about money and not making enough money, prosperity, any blocks that we have to the awareness of this prosperity in our lives, the demonstration of this prosperity in our lives, then we just let go. We give them willingly to her. We ask that our minds and our bodies and our emotions and our talents, our enthusiasm, our imagination, everything that is ours, be taken and used by her for her good, to heal this world from all suffering and pain and disease. That we are willing to now accept our role here on earth. And we know that we need to receive abundance, infinite supply from her. We ask that we be reminded in every moment that we have within us infinite supply of all that heals, all that corrects, all prosperity, all abundance. And that in order to receive it, we now know that we can give it wholeheartedly, fully. We ask that all of our relationships now reflect prosperity, not poverty. We ask that all that is outside of our zone of safety, all things that we fear, be taken and nurtured and healed. We picture the goddess in whatever form she appears to us now. We allow ourselves to be a child, a baby, in her arms. And we notice as she receives us into her embrace and cradles us at her bosom. And she does provide for us. And we are safe. We are at one with her. We no longer need to do anything. We no longer need to make anything happen. All we need to do is in each moment her will for us. Thank you, God, and thank you, Goddess. Together we say, blessed be.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope to hear from you soon. Don't forget to email us and visit our website at thedcw.org. Blessed be.